Thank you, Tavleen, for the wonderful insight. And now, without any delay, I am handing over to Jaspreet for our next session. Jaspreet, over to you.
Thank you, Ragini. Esteemed panelists, it's really a pleasure moderating this conference with you. I think the topic itself does not need any introduction. However, I thought let's talk about what's the trend that has enabled the entire digitization journey in the last 2 years. Obviously, COVID is at the forefront of all right. Uh, when COVID hit, a lot of organizations did not know what is work from home, how do you want to work from home, how do you enable the infrastructure to such an extent. Day before yesterday, I was presenting to a board, right? And the first slide was that you've got three corporate offices in one corporate office in Delhi, three other offices all over India, right? And the MD said, no, Jaspreet, that's not correct. We've got 15,000 offices in India. Every employee working from home is now an office, right? And how do you make sure that the security is controlled at all those 15,000 places, because a single glitch can happen at any of those positions, right? The pandemic, remote working culture, and obviously also the increase in cloud adoption, right? Some of the revenue of cloud companies has grown by about 900%. Uh, Zoom, the platform that you're using today, its revenue alone or valuation alone is close to 38, $39 billion. That's more than the revenue of top three airlines put together in the world, right? So that's the scale that we are talking about. And what's happened is security and integrity of not only the IT network, right? We've got so many people here who represent large organizations that OT, the entire operational technology piece, is even more paramount, right? Uh, one small catastrophe can not only lead to a data loss, but it can lead to the biggest risk that humankind faces today, which is the risk of loss of human life. Right? We saw what can happen in one of the plants in Vizag, right, where the boiler was off by some few degrees, and the blast and there was a blast, right? So how do we look at the future and say, are we controlled? Are we not controlled? What's happening from a data security, data privacy perspective, and cyber security in the age of digital transformation, right? Uh, it's also about how I embrace as a company new technologies, be it IoT, big data, cloud, mobility, uh, and all of this should not be an afterthought. Let's go back 2 years before time, right? And what used to happen was, if I am going into a board meeting, or maybe Gaurav, I'll also ask you about this when you speak. The idea was that yes, there's something to be discussed on security. At the end of the board meeting, you would get about 2 to 3 minutes to speak about security, and this entire thing has now turned around, right? So what's happening is, as soon as the board meeting starts, the security, IT, the entire digital transformation piece actually becomes the first point that gets discussed, right? So once again, welcome fellow panelists to this wonderful conference. We've got about 45 minutes to go this. Let's start with you, Sushil. Your initial thoughts on this topic, please.
You're on mute.
I think you're on mute, sir.
OT Scotty has become very prominent nowadays. I may hope my voice is coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. So GAIL is also one of the organizations which is working quite extensively in the OT Scotty part. In our this SCADA system is already declared as the critical information infrastructure. So accordingly, we are working on making this ISO 27001 for our SCADA systems. Secondly, what we are working on is that setting up of the SOC 24/7 SOC for the IT systems, and in OT also we are planning to attach to it, and that discussion is going on. But SOC we are setting up for this thing, and certainly we have carrying out the audits for various these OT systems what are to be carried out to so that the main plant requirement is that in the case of crisis, they want to that the external teams which are outside of India, they should be able to resolve the problem or troubleshoot the problem. So all those things we are working, and more so we are having this audit and this cyber insurance also we are working on it, that so that GAIL will take the cyber insurance for our setup. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Sushil ji. I think excellent opening thoughts, right from talking about cyber insurance to talking about MCIIPC, which is now more of a guideline where companies need to comply with, especially organizations which have national critical infrastructure, like you mentioned, SCADA systems. Thank you. Now let's go to Mr. Anand Shekhar. Sir, good afternoon. Your initial thoughts, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's very pertinent of the previous speaker, Mr. Sushil, to have pointed out about the challenges in the operations security arena. In fact, much of the earlier discussions and your orientation has generally been focused towards the challenges and the changes which are coming up in the IT sector and the remote operations, as you said, because of the pandemic, people having 15,000 offices. I really see that there's a difference, the classical difference between the IT and OT environment. Now, probably from an IT standpoint, the end users have a choice to operate from home. But if you have to run a power plant and you have to run a boiler and a turbine and those kind of critical systems, there's no option to work from home. You will have to be at site and continue the operations. Each of us who are managing these critical environments in times of pandemic, particularly, no organization would like to be without electricity. So that means there has to be an entire battery of people who are up and running the show, right from generating plants to transmission systems to distribution systems, the linemen, everyone. So it's an entire big operations eco, which is totally detached from the current talk of the town, which is basically challenges because of the pandemic. The challenges of pandemic in OT environment are totally different. How to carry on the show, which is more of brick and mortar than cyber. There are cyber dependencies granted, but the show has to go on from a brick mortar perspective as well. So those things said, the other challenges with regard to IT remain common to what other sectors are. But from a power sector perspective, I must say that the challenge has been writ large in the power sector. And almost every organization has been drilled with the requirements to cybersecurity are taken care of right at the board level. So recently, the Central Electricity Authority has also introduced guidelines for cybersecurity to be followed by all utilities. And it says a lot of practices which are actually to be matured over a period of time. Right, for example, when you talk of a board level ownership of the agenda of cybersecurity, that is something which is very strongly being driven with the adoption of 27001 as a mandatory requirement for all the utilities. Unfortunately, if you go and check out, there are very few setups who are 27001 certified. And particularly in the operations arena, more 27001 certifications can be seen from a data center perspective, but it has not yet gone into the fabric of governance as is required from a 27,000 perspective. You see the history of Information Technology Act and how they have framed up the rules for in 2011, which basically mandate for each organization that each of the management to demonstrate that they have a due diligence. You need to demonstrate that you are 27001 certified, because they have specified as one ISMS has to be implemented, and 27001 is the only standard which is recognized today by the Government of India from Information Technology Act perspective. So Power Grid actually went ahead and has gone ahead for implementation of ISO 27001 across the various organization units, including SCADA. I do understand that there are challenges in this regard with regard to availability of good quality of auditors. And it requires actually a rank and file of the organization also to be sensitized with regard to various 27001 controls. Most of the organizations are actually stopping at the basic standard of 27001. But 27000 series of ISO standard is a family of more than 40 standards. And each of them would go into much more finer details, like, for example, supply chain or incident response. So they are having a huge number of detailed guidelines. But if until most organizations go deeper into each of these guidelines and try to put those kind of controls into their regular processes, we would not have 27001 implementation in letter and spirit. If you see, the cornerstone of 27001 is actually the cybersecurity governance. And while we might have so many technical tools to fight the latest threats, those are definitely required for instrumenting the various sensors and various parameters of the process where we can go wrong and where could be impact. But the cornerstone majorly is the risk assessment. So until unless we have done a proper risk assessment, we will not know where are my jewels which are need to be protected. So I think the CA guidelines which have been recently introduced, and there's already a discussion going on for introducing a regulation in the power sector with regard to the compliance. So I think there's a lot of work remains to be done. For example, in the OT segment, there are a lot of components which are being, systems which are being installed as a part of a station. Now, many of these would carry in the supply chain threats. So the entire framework and fabric of how do you validate a particular product or a supplier and the entire supply chain to be secure or trusted. Because OT is something, as you rightly said, it is not impacting one particular unit, but the fallout could be far more disastrous and have more economic consequences. So, while there are built-in measures for segregating the fallouts of an impact, that they are part of any OT design, but I think the times have changed where we need to drill down much more deeper than we have in past. And the times certainly are more challenging. With those opening thoughts, I think I will pass on.
Excellent. I think you've covered almost like 30-35% of my thunder on what I wanted to, speak and chat with various panelists. I think, a couple of key takeaways, you spoke about cyber governance, you spoke about implementing controls in spirit rather than in letter. Which unfortunately is happening, and maybe Gaurav, I'll pass this question to you when we reach there. But thank you, sir. Excellent opening points. Shri VC Angadi, sir, your opening comments, please.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. So, as most of you were aware, BML comes under Defense Ministry. Okay, the moment we say Defense Ministry, we have a lot of regulations. Our IT and OT and entire digital infrastructure footprint has to be protected. There is no other way. Okay, so whether it is you say primitive way or you say open connected to the internet way. So we have to protect it. Okay. So with this, what we are adopting, we are going ahead with setting up SOC, Cyber Security Operations Center, and NOC. And we are taking up, refreshing all legacy OSS patches, all patch managements are ready. Okay. So all the hardwares we are refreshing. Okay. Then either servers or endpoints. Okay. Especially at the endpoints, we are giving a more and most important for us is a endpoint, because nowadays we are opening people to work from anywhere. Okay. That is one of the challenge for defense sector. Okay. So our utmost importance goes for endpoint protection. Okay. This is the key for us here. Okay. So next one is, we are reviewing every 6 months entire policies in place, entire networking infrastructure, entire applications, entire firewall, all complete perimeters are being assessed for any vulnerability. Okay. Earlier we used to do it yearly once. Now every 6 months we are doing it. Okay. So in each and every device what we use inside the company, so it has to be a compliance with respect to cyber security. This is what, even you take a simple CCTV camera. Okay. It has to undergo, before we buy, before we install, it has to undergo a security pass, cyber security pass. Okay. So this is how, we are evolving. We are going into deeper and deeper penetration into each and every devices which are connected into our entire enterprise network.
Right.
So secondly, one more. Secondly, we are also taken up a very great initiative in the manufacturing automation, that is Industry 4.0. Okay. Where security also is one of the major concerns. Okay. So there also we are building up multiple firewalls for an entire OT network. So that is one of the bridge we are having between our business network with the R&D network and also with the shop floor automation network. There are totally 3 different segmentation within the enterprise. Okay. This is how we are building the security at a multi-level, in a multi-level architecture at the network level and also at the application level and perimeter level. Okay. With this, so I conclude my introduction. Thank you.
I think various aspects you spoke about a layering approach, which is very, very important. And you spoke about segregation, again, important. And then how do you enable employees from working from home? Let's go to Shri Vijay Devnathi for his opening remarks.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. All the fellow panelists and any viewers are there. I will not go into what we do and what we are trying to do, because that itself is a very long story. What I will like to point out is that cybersecurity, modern cybersecurity, has to operate on a few very critical layers. I call them the standard PPT, People, Process, Technology. Technology is what we are all deploying, and all the OEMs are helping us deploy all that technology. There is a lot of overlap, or a lot of confusion, a lot of innovation, and the same thing is evolving. But simultaneously, we have to give a lot of attention to the people and processes part. Processes are easier said than done, because When you have a huge manpower of 13, 14 lakh people, and out of that, at least 4 to 5 lakh people are using the IT systems, you have to take care of all kinds of educational levels, all kinds of hierarchical levels, all kinds of trust levels in the processes as well. Then comes to the people part, which is the most crucial part. Whatever technology you deploy, develop, or you provide the OEMs, etc., it is going to give you nothing unless and until the people operating it are capable enough of handling that high technology, etc. In that, I will like to mention some of the very critical areas where my concern is going nowadays is the operational technology, which is increasingly getting integrated with the IT. And there are very few processes and few expert manpower to control that flow of information two-way. And another one is the this penetration of mobile devices of all kinds, including PCs that work from home, then the mobile equipment which we are giving to every operational person now for easing his work from anywhere, etc. They are creating more and more risk surface for us. So we now expect the security vendors or OEMs to come up with kind of technology or innovation which is light on the people and processes. Even if the people are not so trained or the processes are slightly missed out or loose somewhere, the technology should be able to control that, at least stop the deviations or whatever are happening in the system. They have the AI, they have the data analytics available to them. So if they focus on the visibility, monitoring, and control, these three parameters in their tools and innovate over them, then I think my problems of people and processes will be reduced. They will never be eliminated, but they will be reduced in the coming days. Thank you.
I think excellent points, especially around the use of mobile devices. We did not touch that aspect till now, right? Dr. Yask, are you there? I just saw you, and then probably I can't see you now. So maybe he's having some connectivity issues. Let's then go to Shri Anirudhji. Anirudhji, your initial comments, please.
Good afternoon to all panelists and Mr. Jaspreet Singh. In NHPC, a number of initiatives has been taken, which include ERP, Office, board meeting, and other in-house development applications for digitalization. And as and when an organization go for digitalization or for the integration of the IT and OT, the integration of IT and OT also increases, which increases the threat perception in the organization. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the NHPC has also introduced and facilitated the work from home facility to the officers for their day-to-day work, excluding the OT part, because the power station can be operated only on the physical mode only. The power sector has been identified as a critical sector, which will impact any disruption in the services will impact the country economy, health, and the security. And accordingly, most of the power plant, specifically in the hydro sector, are old, and to maintain or to upgrade the OT systems is a difficult job, which involve a huge financial implication also. The confidentiality, integrity, and availability are security essential and typically viewed as the primary goal and objective of the security infrastructure. But in case of OT system, availability is more important. And therefore, the security principle applied in OT systems are different. That is, redundant architecture and access from control center is more important than the other security measures to be applied. Generally, in all the OT systems are disconnected and not the part of the IT network. And the minimum OT staff is there to operate the power stations. Accordingly, the NHPC is preparing a centralized coordination for IT and OT security issues, which can be handled centrally to handle the response of any cyber security incidents. In NHPC, we as
Sure.
My earlier president has told me there are the 3 pillars for to strengthen the cyber security posture in any of the organization. That is people, process, and technology. Accordingly, in hydro sector, because the NHPC has been nominated as the CERT Hydro and responsible for strengthening the cyber security posture in all hydro utilities, which include central CPSUs, private and state government. So we are also strengthening the process by implementing the standards like ISMS 27001, and we are also emphasizing the more and more thrust on the training of the OT personnels. And the government of India is very much keen to invest to strengthen the cyber security in power sector. Accordingly, they have made it mandatory for the training to the OT operators. Similarly, the latest technology we have already deployed, and we are also monitoring the other hydro utilities.
Right.
As far as other things is concerned, we are in the process of implementing the evolution of the BPM and other latest technologies for like online monitoring center also. Thanks.
Sure.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, sir. Very, very interesting perspectives. I think we've spoken to almost all the panelists from a CIOC, so end user perspective. Let's shift the table to let's go to people who help organizations achieve some of these pieces, right? So, Karthik, your opening comments, please.
Interesting. There was a whole bunch of things being discussed, from work from home, and then there was the whole thing on OT, IT, and it's interesting. And we've been watching this space very carefully because this is a space that we play very actively in. So firstly, 2 of the 3 points that came up during the initial discussion was this whole work from home, was the whole ability of organizations to now manage a larger threat landscape. The landscape has become huge. And then the whole idea of how do we go about protecting that whole large surface. And then we went down to the point where we are getting security as a post thought, because in the hurry, everyone went and deployed, and then security came afterwards. So there's this whole thing of now catching up. And now what we've noticed is this whole bit of OT-IT confluence, where the OT space is being impacted because of their exposure to IT or through IT. So till now, there was this whole myth about an air gap, and so the OT systems are safer than IT. But now with IT becoming an integral part, it's no longer that safe. So very good points were raised by Mr. Vijay, and that is a critical part of what I think is the OT-IT confluence. One is visibility. Visibility of all your assets that exist in the OT environment and the IT environment. Second bit is priority. Now, the priorities of the OT part of the business is very different from that of an IT. And why I say that is availability is the biggest concern for anyone running a plant. Health and safety of the people becomes very, very important to the OT part of the business. Any downtime has to be taken care of very carefully. But when you look at the IT priorities, they're a bit different. It's all around data management, data security, and how do we take care of the data. So the priorities, therefore, have to come together. And this OT-IT confluence will have this challenge to deal with. how do we deal with the priorities of the OT side of the business, IT side of the business. And that happens when you do have complete visibility. You know what are the critical assets that can impact your business, and who's going to take that decision, what decisions to be taken. So OT/IT is a very, very interesting thing, and we are learning, and it's not easy. Even for a technology vendor, there's no one solution that we can come and say, hey, here's the solution, we're going to put it and it's going to work. It doesn't happen. For the same corporation, every plant is different. And for every plant, we've got to have a different solution architecture to go. So it's complex.
Right.
It's very complex for even technology vendors to just get in. So I like the idea of being able to provide visibility, monitoring, and control. But we really require help from all the owners in OT to help us and guide us. We can provide technology, but it's very difficult and challenging.
I really like your candid thought that everybody is learning, right? And the fact that the IT OT convergence is happening, whereas we also need to make sure that there is some airtight arrangements between both of them, so that we discussed this in the starting. There is lots and lots at stake from a OT perspective.
Yes.
Last but not the least, over to you, Gaurav. Gaurav, you're on mute.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
So everyone, it was a great pleasure to be on this forum, and some very exciting thoughts which came across. So yes, I totally echo with Karthik when he says that basically it is a amalgamation of technologies, and no single technology, can on this earth as of now can give 100% security proof solution to the ITs or the OTs of the world. So one is definitely on the cloud adoption. We must appreciate that the digitization, with digitization, there is an inherent risk of security. But at the same time, we also know that the cloud is definitely there to stay. Cloud adoption, but at the same time, cloud adoption doesn't offload one's responsibility towards the data or securing the personal identities. So hence, I would say that the control of the data has to be with the organization, irrespective of where the data is residing. So I would say that cloud and cybersecurity need to coexist. Now, coming to cybersecurity as such, it is a very fancied word, Jaspreet. But ironically or unfortunately, very little is has been understood around cybersecurity, and that's true across the genres. So when we were talking about cybersecurity, as Karthik was also mentioning, it has to be a combination of the perimeter security, the data security, data protection part, and most importantly, as Mr. Vijay had pointed out, it has an equal responsibility from the users, and from that perspective, a user training is the most essential part, without which everything would fail. Now, coming to another point which Mr. Vijay raised, was that technology vendors can come up with some technologies wherein the risk of user mistakes can be mitigated. So I would say there is no 100% foolproof solution as such, but yes, there are encryption solutions in the market, and we are one of the leading encryption solution providers. The only thing what we can do is that if there is a human error involved, then also we can protect the data, because the data will be in an encrypted state. So that is the last line of defense, I would say, starting from your network security, the perimeter security, the firewalls, IPSs of the world, then moving on to the vulnerability assessments and stuff like that. And if we assume that everything fails, then finally keeping the data in encrypted format and not in clear text, so that any attacks like the recent attacks you come across, the ransomware attacks, wherein there is a crypto kind of an attack or a leakware kind of an attack. So in all the scenarios, your data at least is protected. And having said that, the one of the human controls which you can plug in here is that when you encrypt your data, then keeping the data wherever it is residing, whether cloud or on-prem or whatever, keeping the data and the keys associated with the encrypted data separately, firewalled, so that your data is not compromised at any given point of time. So, in fact, a few weeks back, I was talking to Mr. Angadi in Bangalore, and he was very enthusiastic about his SOC being, which was to be inaugurated. And we had a long chat around cybersecurity, data protection, and stuff like that. And he was very forthcoming and, having his views around it. So what I'm trying to say here is that once you have deployed a network security in your organization, then moving on to cyber, data protection and data security is one of the utmost important things that the organization should adopt.
Sure. I think very interesting topics moving from security to data privacy. The proposed data protection bill is hopefully will see light of the day very soon. We don't know which way it would move, right? A question to anybody, between Sushil, Mr. Angadi, Devnath, or Mr. Anand, right? We've often spoken about PSUs. We've spoken about cybersecurity. We've spoken about OT security. How does digital transformation help actually in doing all this that we just spoke about? And the digital transformation also takes care of the entire cybersecurity practices at the back end, which is very, very important. Anybody from you, if you would want to, please take ahead, take a lead and answer. It would be great.
Yeah, thank you, Jasprit. I would like to say one very critical issue with public sector is that IT is mostly a support function. It's a information support function. Very few, if at all, businesses totally depend on the IT, as is the case with the online marketplaces like Amazon.com or whatever. Even our railways ticketing systems, they have a manual backup always available on the window ticketing. So I will say that the focus of the board or the top management is on business continuity on the operational side more. The information systems BCP is at the second level, and cyber security per se is on the third level, I will say. And if we are managing, like in our case, we are managing public information of trains, of people and movement. There is not much of a personal information being gathered and kept by us. So then the focus on data protection or data leakage or data theft becomes that much lower. So what we envisage is that we have to tune the cybersecurity solutions in such a way that we do not become, cost heavy. Ultimately, everywhere in public service, the costs become a very, very critical factor, which we have to control at everywhere, and including in cybersecurity. We should, somebody said, we have to take the risk and then implement the cybersecurity, which is very correct in public sector, because not everything is as risky as, running plant like oil, refinery,
yeah.
Like that. Yeah, thank you.
Excellent points, Mr. Vijay Devnath. While we were talking, and I was just counting the number of times OT or IoT is being referenced. A question to you, Mr. Angadi, and Sushil, Anand, sirs, please feel free to chip in anytime. With this entire IoT convergence also happening, what do you think are some of the data protection or cybersecurity strategies that organizations should adopt?
Yes, in BML, okay, as I mentioned, we started a journey called Industry 4.0. We just started, okay. For a public sector, I can say it is a very prestigious project when we want to start, okay, those kind of automation, especially on the shop floor. A lot of agitation, from the employees and all it is there, okay. Now, with the help of management, we have started, and it is taking a really very good shape. Okay, so what I say is, we cannot compare this with the IT security. Okay, IT security is entirely different from OT security. OT again, IoT. Most of them it is a IoT enabled. Each and every device is a IoT enabled. Okay, so in IoT space, what I can say, it is the most important cyber security measures to be taken care. For example, let me tell you, give you one. Okay, we have a lot of CNC machines. Okay, to make a product. Okay, so the CNC machines are working on a very very precision manner. Okay, let us say somebody attacks and changes CNC machine parameters. Okay, let us say in terms of not in terms of cm centimeter. Okay, so nobody will notice that product variation, even though it is a product is tested, all these things, until unless it goes to the field and put on a use, then only we will come to know those kind of mistake has happened, and micro mm something has gone wrong. Okay, so that is the kind of attacks are being planned from the outsiders. Okay, not the changing every parameter. No, they will not change every parameter. They will change very very critical, and it will not be noticed by even experts also. So that is one of the reason we must in CISO CIO level, we must be very sensitive for IoT IT project implementation. So this is what I learned here, and it is very very most important. Whatever you make over period of 1 month, it will be utter waste. All your product will be waste by just having a leakage or leakage in the system, IoT system, or maybe a loose I can say loose implementation. Okay,
Sure, sure.
second thing
Thank you.
is, yeah, second thing I want to add, one is technology layer, another one is a people layer. People must be, everyone on the shop floor must be educated in cyber security, not only just awareness, also its after effects. Okay,
Sure.
so these are the two things we should keep it in mind. Thank you.
I think awareness is no matter how much, how less or how more we talk about cyber awareness, I think it's always going to be less only, right? And I think everybody's smiling, nodding. That means everybody
Yeah, it is ongoing. It is ongoing, continuous, 24/7.
Yes, it is. Cyber awareness never sleeps is one of my favorite quotes. Dr. Yask, we missed you in the starting, right? I think we are almost at the fag end of this conference, but why don't you help us talk about what are you seeing from an industry perspective, given that you're one of the veterans in this industry, and your thoughts, please.
Right. I'm so sorry, Jaspreet and all the other members. I was stuck in a meeting, and so apologies for that. And good day, good afternoon, everyone. I believe we are talking about OT security here. Is that correct, Jaspreet?
OT security, IoT, data privacy. We were just saying what are the trends that everybody was seeing from an industry perspective.
Right. I think now is the time, and this is where we are. A couple of decades back, when we used to talk about security, it was purely IT, then came OT, then came IIoT, then came privacy. I don't think so any conversation of security can now be done without talking about these four. In fact, I very honestly believe that privacy per se should not be looked from a security lens. Unfortunately, that is what is being done. That has also come as part of the CISO's or maybe a DPO's job. But unfortunately, I see a lot of organizations where the CISO and the DPO are the same. But the point is that yes, when we do a conversation now in the coming years, one reason as to why legal statutes are going to play a very important role, because the moment we start talking about any kind of a control that is to be employed, the first thing I'm saying that not just from a, let's say, PSUs or any organization for that matter, as the law of the land would have to be complied with. We are talking about the PDP, which has been, the report has been tabled. A lot many things are going to change once the PDP is approved. Simple thing. The moment we talk about, let's say, going to the cloud, which is not just a reality now, which is more like a requirement. One would have to certainly look at some portion of the cloud, whatever we are doing. The point is that data residency, for example, is one aspect, one chapter that everybody would be talking about. What kind of a data can go out or can has to reside in the country? The security, when we talk about, before applying all these controls, before applying all these policies, I need to ensure that I am first complying. And as I said, that this is not something that a security personnel or professional would generally or very happily do. Unfortunately, the attackers do not have to comply to any of the guidelines. So, as a practitioner, I have to look at those. And next is the technology part. We always and often talk about the people. See, I have seen what is happening. In fact, most of the organizations across the globe would, and ours included, would not look at technology as providing a good means to help us in defending. Please, all of us do also realize that this is the same technology that is being used by the attackers as well. And most of the times they are a step ahead of us in using this technology. Obviously, we are operating in a certain domain which they are not. The point that I'm trying to make is we should not be preparing for a crisis that has already happened. We need to anticipate the attack which is going to happen next. We have seen as to what happened in the pandemic. We keep on talking about all these things. The preparedness is what we would now be focusing on. To run these systems during an attack is what we need to work on, especially when we talk about IIoTs and OT systems. It is during the attack. We've seen a collateral damage happening in one of the pipelines attack in the western part of the globe, where the actual attack was not meant for there, but unfortunately the visibility was not there. Right. We keep on talking about extended visibility, high fidelity visibility. Unfortunately, reality in 2021 is that a certain section of the organization was to be shut down because the people were not exactly aware as to what section has been targeted. So that's also one of the aspects, I think, which is going to be looked deeper maybe in the coming days. I think all of these are going to play heavily on the mind of the CISO. And I again say, coming back to the same point, that once the PDP is there, a lot of
things will change.
Things are going to change.
Yes. And on just on PDP, what I tell everybody is, Europe passed GDPR after 25 years of having a DPA, Data Privacy Act, which was passed in 1995, right? We have nothing except some sections in the IT Act talking about data privacy, and suddenly coming up with such a stringent law. We will see how it evolves.
Yes, and I think it is the need of the hour. Although we do have certain acts, which certain guidelines which had come in 2011, the security practice, security guidelines. But then this is what is going to be a major game changer, I would say, and I think it's good for the country. I'm really hopeful that it's going to bring a lot of jobs, a lot of opportunities in this part of the globe. I am really hopeful on that.
Right. And you made excellent point. Two more points which you made. One was on the entire visibility piece. Again, very, very important. But I think where you touch the right chord with me, at least, is, and I think Gaurav, Karthik, and all fellow CIOs, CISOs on the call, IT heads, would probably agree to this, is we do too much emphasis on pre-crisis and post-crisis, right? And that's where I've seen organizations spend a lot of time, effort, money, right? One area where organizations currently are struggling is during the crisis piece, right? Is when you're actually under an attack, how do you respond? I think that's going to be very, very critical from a future perspective, right? And sorry, future is not 5 years from now. Future is like 18 months, 24 months, 2 years from now. I think that is what something which every organization should take care of. I would invite anybody to just give closing comments so that we can close this. It was really an amazing time moderating this esteemed panel. Anybody who would just want to close it out, please?
So just from a technology perspective, what I do notice is that this is a combined effort, especially when it comes to OT and IT, because this is still new. We've got technologies and we don't have the expertise. They are expertise, but they don't know the technology. So it's only going to succeed when all of us get together and start working on this. That's one part of it. The second part of it is that it has to be continuous. Just like Dr. Yask said, we will never come to know the attack and be able to fix it if it's not a continuous monitoring process. So if it's going to be one of those compliances that you are doing twice in a year, it's not going to help. So it has to be a continuous monitoring process that we need to go through. So I think it's a bit of visibility. It's a bit of being able to analyze continuous data that's being processed, and then have a plan to act very fast when such things happen. So I think it's more like be able to predict and act, which is going to be a framework that all of us need to work on together to be able to make this a reality and successful.
Thank you so much, Karthik, for such amazing closing remarks. I really learned so much today, right from OT, IoT, convergence to not implementing ISO 27001 in letter, but in spirit, to how that entire visibility piece, to so much excellent work that all of you are doing in your respective organizations. It really was a delight moderating such esteemed panelists. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Back to you, Mohit and Vaishali.
Thank you, Jaspreet, and respectable panelists for this great discussion. So just a message for all the delegates, please drop in your queries in question and answer box along with the panelist name the question is intended to. We will try to take as many as possible as per the time permits. And yes, good question will get acknowledgement and giveaways. And you can also tweet by tagging Governance Now and using hashtag PSUIT2021. Moving further now.